You know the scene.
The project is due in less than 12 hours. The document is open, the cursor blinking on a blank page, mocking you. A low-grade panic hums in the background, a familiar soundtrack to your best work. For days, maybe weeks, you felt nothing. But now, with the clock ticking down, something else arrives. It's a strange, almost electric clarity. It's as if you've been waiting for this exact moment to truly begin. This is your own personal extreme sport. The character suddenly transforms into a productivity superhero, fueled by cold coffee and the primal fear of failure. He orchestrates a symphony of last-minute genius, pulling a brilliant project out of thin air. And then, as the sun rises, he collapses, exhausted and convinced he's just a lazy person who got lucky. This pattern isn't a character flaw. You are not lazy or undisciplined. What you're experiencing is evidence of a very particular cognitive architecture. A neurological need, not a moral failing. And I promise we are going to explore the hidden psychological reason why your brain seems to require chaos just to create order. It all comes down to a concept called optimal arousal. For many people, a calm, quiet environment is the ideal state for work. But for your specific cognitive architecture, that calm state is actually understimulated. Your brain is running below its effective RPM. To get into that state of deep focus or flow, you need to increase your physiological and mental arousal. And the deadline, with its looming sense of urgency, becomes the most reliable tool to do just that. This creates a strange, counterintuitive situation. We can give this strange situation a name: the pressure-performance paradox. It's the counterintuitive principle where adding stress and pressure actually improves your focus and output rather than hindering it. And this isn't a modern phenomenon. It's a dynamic with deep roots in psychology. Over a century ago, psychologists Robert Yerkes and John Dodson discovered a surprisingly elegant model for this exact dynamic. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson Law, and it describes a precise, predictable relationship between arousal and performance, one that follows a very specific shape. Imagine it as a curve. At the bottom, with almost no pressure, you're bored, unfocused, scrolling on your phone. At the other extreme, with far too much pressure, you're panicked and overwhelmed, unable to think. But right at the peak of that curve is the sweet spot, that perfect zone where stress becomes fuel, making you sharp, motivated, and clear. So what is happening in the brain to create that peak state? That peak state is chemical. The moderate stress from a deadline triggers a release of norepinephrine and dopamine. Think of these as your brain's own focus-enhancing drugs. They don't just wake you up. They act like precision instruments, sharpening your attention, tuning out background noise, and locking you onto the single most urgent task. It's a bit like a high-performance engine finally getting the fuel it needs to run. Think of it this way. A family sedan is perfectly happy cruising at low speeds. But a Formula One car is a different kind of machine. It's designed to perform at its peak near the red line. At low speeds, it sputters, it's inefficient, almost clumsy. For some brains, the calm of an ordinary Tuesday morning is that sputtering low speed. The deadline is what pushes the engine into its effective range, where it finally runs smoothly. This architecture isn't built for cruising. But what if it becomes more than just a mechanical need for focus? What if you start to crave the intensity of that red line? Because for a specific type of person, it's not just about needing the pressure to get going. It's about being subconsciously drawn to the thrill of the chase itself. This is the profile of the arousal procrastinator. The internal monologue isn't, "I don't want to do this." It's, "I can't do this now." The calm is the enemy. You wait for that hit of adrenaline, that euphoric rush of a last-minute victory. It's about the feeling. This isn't just a theory, it's documented. Research conducted by Dr. Joseph Ferrari, a leading psychologist at DePaul University, suggests that a significant portion, around 20% of chronic procrastinators, fit this exact thrill-seeking profile. So if this feels like your story, it's because you're not alone. It's a specific studied pattern. But what's the mechanism that makes this cycle so compelling? The mechanism is a perfect feedback loop. That wave of intense relief, the euphoria of hitting submit with seconds to spare, is a powerful dopamine reward. Your brain logs this not as a crisis averted, but as a strategy that worked brilliantly. It reinforces the entire cycle, teaching itself that this is the best way to get that feeling of success. So let's reframe the entire pattern. This isn't an addiction to stress. It's a highly effective, if costly, strategy for manufacturing focus when your internal methods aren't enough. And that cost is paid by you every single time. It's the constant gnawing anxiety, the missed sleep, the strain it puts on your health, your relationships, and your own sense of self-worth. It's the feeling of being a passenger on a roller coaster of your own making, lurching between sheer panic and fleeting relief. It is a profoundly exhausting way to live, no matter how good the work might be. And right now, a part of you is probably pushing back, thinking, but it works. I get it done, and I do it well. And that's completely true. The results are often undeniable. The purpose here isn't to argue with a method that produces results. It's to reassure you that the goal isn't to erase this part of you, but to learn how to wield it without it costing you so much. Because the belief that this is your only option is a powerful myth. It's like thinking the only way to start a campfire is by dousing it in gasoline. Sure, it creates a dramatic flame, but it's a volatile, uncontrolled method. The real question is, what does that sudden pressure actually do to simplify the task? That sudden pressure performs a kind of brutal triage on your mind. It instantly identifies the one critical target, and everything else becomes noise. Unanswered emails? Irrelevant. Future worries? Muted. That nagging feeling you forgot something? Gone. It creates a state of forced, perfect clarity. But what's fascinating is that this same mechanism reveals a hidden strength this entire architecture is built upon. It's a profound capacity for grace under fire. It means that the very same people who need a deadline to write an email are often the ones who become preternaturally calm in a genuine crisis. While others freeze, their minds sharpen. This architecture isn't built for peacetime productivity, it's built for emergency, making them decisive and resourceful when it truly matters. Imagine a small fire suddenly erupts in the kitchen. While Molière dense granges panics, the character is the one who moves with purpose. This is the gift of your architecture, immense resilience. The cost, however, is the subconscious need to set small fires in your own life, manufacturing crises with deadlines, just to feel focused enough to cook dinner. The real power, then, isn't just in putting out fires, it's learning how to get that same focus without ever needing the fear. So this isn't about fixing a flaw in your cognitive architecture. It's about learning to manually operate a system that has been running on autopilot. How do we create that necessary pressure, but on our own terms? Try the Pomodoro technique, using a simple timer to create a mini deadline for a 25-minute sprint. Or commit to a deadline with a friend, leveraging social accountability. These methods manufacture controlled, low-stakes urgency. They give your brain the stimulation it needs to engage, but without the cost of a full-blown crisis. And applying them starts by confronting the story you've always told yourself about why you need them. That story is that you're lazy, that your motivation is broken. This is a fundamental misdiagnosis. Your brain isn't a faulty machine. It's a high-performance engine that you've been starting by flooding it with the adrenaline of panic. It's time to stop blaming the engine and learn how to gently turn the key. So grant yourself some grace. Your need for stimulation to focus is not a weakness. It is a trait, a fundamental part of your cognitive texture. And like any trait, it comes with immense strengths and undeniable challenges. The power isn't in fighting it, but in learning to work with it. The goal was never about becoming a perfectly organized person. It's about becoming a more compassionate guide for the brilliant, crisis-ready mind you already have, learning to navigate its unique texture with kindness instead of criticism. After seeing that needing pressure isn't a flaw, what's the most ridiculous small fire you've manufactured in your own life just to get focused? Answer in the comments below. I read and reply to every single one. This is just one piece of a bigger picture, and in the next video, we'll explore how that same wiring lets you instantly read a room. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the truth, and share this with someone who needs to feel seen.